All right, so let's log in. Everything, most of the things we're gonna do, they usually always start with the MLS.
Okay.
So, okay, cool. Whoever that is off. Yeah. All right, so remember this homepage. As you see from the last time we spoke, a bunch of people looked at their portals. So we got a favorite, and Deborah has 4 options she's interested in. I already reached out to her about these, but just so you can see, every day you log in, you're gonna see something new. So I already have one of my agents about to show her these 4.
Mm-hmm.
But let's just say from what we showed her, she likes this one. So we open it from MLS, and you see right here, this FS Form Simplicity.
Yeah.
That's where all our contracts are. So from any listing, you just click on this FS. It's at the top of every listing. It's going to open it in another tab. Did you see the new tab open?
Yeah, I see it.
All right, perfect. So as you see, it automatically brings over all the information for Form Simplicity. I got the address, the legal description, everything. Right?
Right. That's
So
just the information of the property.
yeah, everything that it's populated in MLS, it brings it over. So I click save to a transaction. And if I've wrote an offer for this client before, I'll just come here and pick on it just so I can just import it. But if it's being that I've never written an offer for her, I'll put a new one. So I'll just put her name, Deborah, right? Transaction type, this is going to be a lease. It's a rental. And then the property type is residential. So you see all of that?
Right.
All right, then save to a new transaction, and it's going to make her a folder. Bam. So how this works is everything, if I write a contract in here one time, it saves it. So let's just say I write a contract for this property, and then it doesn't work out, and I got to write an offer for this one. All I have to do is come back in here. It's still there, and I just got to say, change the address, the legal description, things, the little things like that.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so it's easy. So because it's a rental, there's only one form we're going to need from here, and that's the contract to lease. So you go to add blank form. The form library is going to be Florida. There's a bunch of libraries you see, but I go to Florida. I don't know
Yeah.
why there's so many. And all you got to do is type in one word of what you're looking for. So I'm going to put lease because we're leasing.
Mm-hmm.
And right
Oh,
here,
so
you see
she's
it,
just looking.
contract to
She's looking for like a lease or something to rent out.
yeah. She wants to rent that house out. So here's the contract to lease. It's only like a 2-page document. It's very easy and it's fill in the blank. The tenant's name, we have her name, so it's Deborah. I'm gonna
Okay.
put her. I was supposed to put her last name in, but I'm recording this, so I don't want to, have her business out there. The
Yeah.
landlord's name. Here's how you find that. The same with every property. You go back to the listing, and you see this little eye with the globe.
Yeah.
It says IMAP. That's the tax
I'm
roll.
up. Yeah.
Yeah, we were there the other day.
Yeah.
So in order to not get rid of this, I open IMAP in a new tab. So I right click on it and click open in a new tab. So that way I have both of them.
Right.
And then I come over to IMAP and here, current owner, this is the owner's name.
Foresight Technology.
Yeah. So I copy it, I come over here and landlord, I just paste it. That's it. Right? My
Okay.
tenant, remember she's Deborah. Okay, so under here, this is asking me when do I expect the lease to be drafted and executed by? So Deborah, she's in a hurry. She needs to move as soon as possible. And the associations I sent her, they take about 2 weeks to approve. So I would say if today is Thursday, we need to have a lease drafted and executed by Monday, right? That way we can get
Mm-hmm.
everything turned into the association on time. If the lease is turned in after Monday, we're gonna be late. So
Okay.
that's what this is asking. When is the lease going to be drafted and signed by? And right here is asking who's going to write the lease. Being the listing agent or the landlord always writes the lease. There's going to be
Okay.
cases where they'll ask the tenant's agent to write it, but it's very, very rare because the lease is mainly for the landlord to protect the landlord. So they wouldn't
Right.
want it very tenant heavy. So the landlord creates the lease. You always got to put in when you want to do by, otherwise they'll just drag their feet.
Of course.
And every contract you gotta have a deposit. It can be any amount, but just to make things easier, when it comes to a rental, I always have them put up either the full 1 month rent or at least a half a month's rent. So that way, at least one of the agents already has their commission.
Yeah.
So how much is this property renting for? This property is 1,800 a month, right? So I come back here and I'm gonna do a 1 month deposit. Let's just say I already spoke to Deborah. I said, look, once we find a place, are you okay with putting 1 month up to hold it off the market until you can move in. This money up just lets them take it off the market, and they will stop showing it and everything until the association says yes or no. Our brokerage does not have an escrow account because I don't want the beeper coming after me every month asking to see my account, and I don't want agents running out people's money. So I have the listing agent hold escrow. So I type in right here, listing brokerage within 3 days of acceptance.
Oh, okay. So so sometimes, like, let's say we get a check, right? Because I know in one of the books they talk about
you got to have it
how you're
turned
supposed
in to me within like a day.
Do we do that to you? Like,
you don't give it to me. In this case, if you're working with Deborah, the tenant, and she gives you a deposit, you or have Deborah take it directly to the listing brokerage.
Oh, okay. So we take it to the listing.
So in this case, we're gonna have Zenith Keys LLC hold escrow.
Okay.
All right, and the way I wrote it, this is saying once they agree to this offer, they're gonna have 3 days to get $1,800 to Zenith whatever LLC. And then once they get that deposit, they're gonna send us a escrow letter, basically saying we're Zenith, what Realty LLC, whatever the name is, and we're holding $1,800 for Deborah for the property located at whatever. You get it? And you see, I didn't type this address in. I think this is just automatically imported. Yeah, the address automatically imported.
Oh, okay. That's nice.
Yeah.
To do that.
Yeah. If it's ever not there, you just got to come over here and copy it. Where it says right here, the property is going to be unfurnished or furnished. It's as simple as it's asking. You see, it's all fill in the blank. If the property is furnished, you just check off furnished. And then you want to put an itemized list of everything that they're including, just so when this tenant leaves, it's clear that they didn't take anything that didn't belong to them and no one's confused. More often than not, it's going to be unfurnished. All right. As far as the lease term, we can only write a lease of 1 year, meaning 365 days. So let's just say Deborah wants to move in July 1st. 365 days from there is always the day before the following year. So that means it's going to be June 30th, 2022. That makes sense, because if I put July 1st, 2021 and July 1st, 2022, that's 366 days, and that's an illegal lease.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so you have to be a day before.
Yeah, so if you wanted to do a lease more than 1 year, you can, but you need an attorney. A realtor, because we don't have a law degree, we can't bind people to contracts more than 1 year.
So only attorneys can do that?
Only attorneys can write a lease over 1 year. Yep.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, unless it's a commercial lease. Commercial leases are usually more than 1 year, but those are still drafted by attorneys and given to us to fill in the blank. It's a different lease.
All right. Okay.
All right. So right here, this is where you outline how much your client is gonna pay to the owner to move in. So you can verify this by coming back to the listing. And remember at the bottom where it showed you the move-in funds, this $5,400, they want first month's rent, last month's rent, and a security deposit. So they want $1,800 3 times.
Okay. So everything, while you're filling in the blank, everything's already in the matrix.
Yep, you're just looking for the answer and just copy and pasting.
Yeah, copy and paste. Yeah.
Yep. I just got to show you what goes where, and after that, you can just you're off to the races.
Wow.
So first month's rent, we already saw it, $1,800, and that's due. I'd put a date. I'd put July 1st, but what if the association approves us later something? So I just put moving. Whenever we're moving in, that's when we'll give it to you. Last month's rent, $1,800, due at moving. Right. You can also put walkthrough. It's the same thing. As long as they know when it's due. Walkthrough and move-in is the same word. A walkthrough is just a process of when you go to the property with your tenant and they just look around, make sure everything is okay, make sure nothing's broken. They exchange the money and get the keys. That's the walkthrough. You're just literally walking around, making sure everything's okay.
Okay.
If something's broken or damaged, you just notate it and let the landlord know and say, hey, can we fix this? Or if the tenant's cool with it, just, hey, I just wanted this to bring this to your attention so you know that my client didn't do it.
Right. Yeah,
And
so
then we
everything
also
goes
know
smoothly.
exactly, and we also know that this one has a security deposit. It's also going to be 1,800. Also due at walkthrough or moving, whatever you decide to put. But just to not confuse you, I'll just put the same thing in all three, just so it's clear. You don't want to, mix it up.
Yeah.
And you see, it automatically calculates all this together for this top number. I didn't do that.
Oh, wow, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, so let's just say the association had another security deposit. Some associations, they'll say, give us 500. It brings it up. And the reason an association would want a security deposit is because they have rules. And if you break their rules, they need to assess you a fine. If I'm a homeowner, it's easy to assess me a fine. They just add it to my ledger. And next time I pay my association fee, I'm still going to have a balance. But a tenant, they don't pay that. So with a tenant, they want a security deposit for the tenant to put up sometimes. And if they have to fine the tenant for breaking any rules, they just deduct it from that security deposit they have, and they'll give them back the difference when they move out.
Oh.
Not common, though. That's a rare thing. Just some associations do care. Pet deposits right here. This is where you write that in. Let's just say they have a German Shepherd and the landlord says, look, I'll let you move in with your German Shepherd, but I want a $250 non-refundable security deposit. I put $250 non-refundable. So it's clear. Oh, it won't let me type it. Okay, so let's try it here. Walk through. Let's see if it'll fit. If it ever doesn't fit here, you could just have it written in the lease. Non-refund. Okay. Nah, it won't fit. It's okay. So just the pet deposit is $250 at walkthrough. Whatever the owner tells you, obviously. I just kind of pulled $250 out of nowhere. But just so you see what goes where and when. If your client's going to pay, let's just say they say, I'll pay first, second, and last and security, you just put the advance month here. So the second month, if it's starting in July, August. So we're going to pay July and August 2021. We're going to give you another 1,800. Also do a walkthrough.
So 7,200 right there.
Yeah, it automatically calculates it. You can get really creative. So if your client says, I'll give them an extra month just because I've been having a hard time finding the property, this is how you write it in.
All right.
And you don't have to stick with their 1,800 listing price. If you see it's a crazy market and they're getting offer after offer and it's only been a couple of days, you can just say, look, we'll offer you 1,850. How's that? I'll give you a little extra to take my offer over these other guys. That helps you.
Yeah.
Another thing that helps is, let's just say you want it to leave the same amount per month, but you want it to do, let's just say, a bigger security deposit to sweeten the deal. So you can tell them, I'll give you a $2,000 security deposit. It doesn't cost you any more a month. It just here's the extra $200 to hold in security. Little things like that make your offer go a long way. So there's no real rules to this. It's just on the listing. This is just what they want. This is their suggestion. They want 1,800. They want first security. Even if you had a client that said, look, I only have 2 months rent. I can't do 3. That's fine. You can just see if they will be okay with not doing last month's rent. So this offer says, we'll give you 1,800, but we'll only give you first security. So you're only getting 3,600 out of us. A way to sweeten that deal is, look, we'll only give you 2 months, but we'll give you a little more a month. Every month you get an extra $50 if you let us slide without last month's rent. So sky's the limit here, but just for the sake of simplicity, we're gonna leave it pretty regular with first, last, and security.
That's actually not that bad. Like in terms of like writing the contract, like you said, it's like basically just filling in the blank and you just copy and pasting from the other information. That's not bad. I really thought it was gonna be a little bit more complex, but it's actually not that bad. Pretty easy. For now, it's pretty easy.
It doesn't get harder. It's just because we're not lawyers, we can only do so much. So all we're allowed to do is fill in the blank. And remember this deposit up here, the escrow deposit to hold the property off the market?
Yeah.
That we gave them within 3 days of accepting this offer. Right here is asking us, what do we do with that? So I just credit it to first month's rent. Right? So what we're saying is, if you sign this offer, within 3 days of you signing off on it, we will give you first month's rent to hold in escrow. Remember, right here, it says first month's rent isn't due until walkthrough, but we already paid it. But that's because we didn't give it to the owner. The owner doesn't get it until walkthrough. The listing brokerage is holding it, and they won't move it until all parties sign off to move it.
Oh, okay.
So
And
if there's
basically
an escrow
the
dispute,
1800 is just to go into escrow, so that way they lock in
they lock in the deal.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, no one touches it. It's not mixed with any other funds. It's just there until this deal is done or until this deal falls through. If the deal falls through, as long as no one has a claim that they're blaming the other person and they're trying to go after this deposit, they just each sign off on a release of contract saying, look, we're good. We're not blaming anybody for anything. Give the tenant back her money. That's it. They just cut them a check. It's right back in their hands.
Okay.
If the tenant signs the lease, gets approved, and on moving day just flees the country, then the seller or the landlord has to go after this deposit. They can't just get it though. They still have to sign the release and have the tenant sign off to give it to them. And if the tenant doesn't sign off, it has to go into an escrow dispute where it goes back and forth in mediation, arbitration. It goes to the courts, and it just goes back and forth until either both parties come to an agreement or you get a court order to move it. So the escrow money is really safe.
Yeah.
All right. So right here, we put the escrow deposit up there. It's for first month's rent. And the commission, you're not putting it here just because it's already agreed on between the the landlord and the listing agent, right? So this 1,800, we're probably just going to get our commission out of it, because it's already money they already got. So the seller usually just says, you know what, that 1,800 you guys are holding in the escrow, just keep it. Just keep it. Give me my other 2 months, the other for last month of security, and we'll call it good.
Okay.
So what'll happen is the listing agent, being that they're already holding a full month and their commission is half and our commission is half, that brokerage, when it's time to move in, will cut one check to their listing agent for the half a month, and that listing agent will show up to walk through with your half a month. So after you look around, verify everything's okay, and your client gives them cashier's checks, and their landlord gives your client keys, they'll hand you your check and you're done.
So if out of that commission check, that'll be like 900 that you keep, right?
Yeah, because they'll never write the check to you in your name. It'll always be to the investment property gurus, and then we deposit it, and it clears the very next day, and I can cut you your check.
Okay, so I keep I get the 900 and you keep 180, right, on your end?
Yeah, 20% for your first 6 transactions. Then it drops to 15, and then once you hit 12, it drops to 10.
Oh yeah. That's good.
Yeah,
that's good.
I have an agent. He maxed out to 10 within a year. So it doesn't. If you're doing a lot, it doesn't take long, because it doesn't matter the size of the deal.
No, yeah, of course.
Yeah. All right. So the next step down right here, rent payments. So tenant will pay the total rent for the lease term. That's saying this is a 12-month lease. In those 12 months, how much money would the tenant have paid? So I take out my handy dandy calculator and I do 1,800 times 12.
21,600. Yeah.
21,600. That's how much they will pay for the total rent for the term of the lease. Right. So you know how some commission, they'll pay you a commission based off the gross. This is that number.
Oh, okay. So you'll get paid like for the percentage of that number right there, 21,600.
If that's how they pay you, but this one they pay you a half a month.
Oh, okay.
It always tells you how much they pay you. And if you look here, the application fee is 100. So it's going to ask us that later. So the next one down, tenant will also pay taxes on the rent. On residential leases, we don't pay taxes. So I just put 0. There's no taxes. And then right here, it wants to confirm, okay, how do you plan on paying this rent? Your tenant always has the option to just hand them this 21,600 and just pay all 12 months up front, and they just get left alone until June 30th, 2022.
Right.
But usually it'll be paid monthly on the first day of the month in the amount of 1,800 because it's tax-free. All right. 7 and 8, it's straightforward. It's asking if this property is going to be pet friendly, or really if the tenant's moving in with a pet. So even if the property says pets not allowed, but your tenant has a pet, by clicking this, you're offering them this package. You're saying, we'll rent it at these terms, but we got a pet. You got to take our pet. You know? I'm sorry, permitted. Permitted is yes. Prohibited is no. If you're even if it says pets allowed, but your tenant does not have a pet, you would say prohibited. We don't have a pet, so pets aren't allowed here. Smoking, personally, I don't even ask my client if they smoke or not. I just always put prohibited just to not have a disagreement, because people are gonna do what they want to do anyway. But but I'm sure you could probably just if you know your tenant, you know they smoke, you could just put permitted just so you know that you can save them an issue. Because cigarette smoke is in the walls, and then it'll really take a hit out of their security deposit.
Yeah, it'll stain the walls, right? Like it'll
it gets in the paint. To get smoke smell out, you have to repaint. You got to deep clean and repaint.
Oh man.
Yeah, so even if the walls are squeaky clean, the fact that they smoked in there while it says prohibited, they got to pay for
that.
Wow. If any utilities are included, this is where you put it. So if water is included or lawn care, so you come to the listing to see what's included in rent. If this thing moves out of the way, okay, there we go. So you come to the listing. Rent payment includes water and sewer. See it here?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to come back over here. Landlord pay for utility service. I'm sorry, the tenant will pay for utility service except for which the landlord agrees to provide at landlord expense. Water, sewer, and waste. Trash is usually billed with the water and sewer.
That's what the tenant is going to pay, right?
No, this is what the landlord is going to pay at landlord's expense.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so even if it's something not on here, but the tenant says, ask them if they'll pay it, this is how you do it. Let's just say the tenant says, see if they'll pay cable. All right, and cable. And they'll just have to say no to this.
Yeah.
They'll just be like, look, we'll pay water, sewer, and waste, but we're not paying cable. No problem. Then you just cross it out.
Okay.
All right. Maintenance. This is saying the landlord is responsible for fixing pretty much everything in the property except for. So this is like if the tenant has a deep freezer, it'll be like except for a deep freezer. Because the landlord's not going to be responsible for that. If the deep freezer breaks, it's in his property, but it's not his. And right here, association approval. Remember we saw over here. Let me get back over there. You can't see it, but a little drop down.
In the number 10, you could put air conditioning, you could put appliances, you could put all of that, right? Like let's say the landlord agrees to that they'll pay for all of that.
This is what the landlord is not gonna take care of.
Oh, okay.
So you see which tenant agrees to maintain and repair. So sometimes in here, I'll just put tenant personal property. Just to kind of like keep it, simple, but you could just leave it blank. I'll just leave this blank.
Okay.
Association approval. We remember over here, the association application fee is $100. So you come here, the tenant will pay the non-refundable application fee of $100. Yep. And make association approval by, we'll see if we come back up here. We said we need the lease signed and executed by June 21st. So by June 21st, we should have a lease in our hand. So that means and make approval by, I would say June 22nd, that Tuesday. Or if you want to give them a grace period, let's just say June 23rd. So we need a lease by the 21st and an association application turned in by the 23rd. If your client misses this deadline, like if you don't get it turned in time, you're out of contract. And they can, if they want to, fight you over escrow.
Oh wow!
Because it's technically a breach. Yeah, but it's more often than not you get out of it. You know what I'm saying? A lot has to happen for escrow dispute to go down. But yeah. Additional terms. This is just where you want to put in any like special request that you'd want or your client would want written in the lease. So. As you see here, it says your attorney must make these amendments. We can't do it. We're not allowed to cross anything out on here and rewrite it. You have to have a lawyer draft you a new lease. Additional terms, let me think of a good example. Okay, they will say, look, we will cover the water bill as long as it's under $50 a month. You know what I'm saying? Anything over 50, we want the landlord to help us with, or vice versa. The landlord can say, I'll cover the first 100 of the water bill, but I want them to pay everything outside. Anything weird like that, you type it right here in additional terms.
Okay.
Sky's the limit on what you could put here, like anything. Service member status, this is asking if your client was ever like in the military. I don't know if like police and fire goes into it. I think it's only military, but it's just asking yes or no, because if they were a service member, you have to provide a reason you're denying them. You can't just say no.
Right.
It's just a way to protect veterans, because they have a hard time finding housing. There's a shortage.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
I was hearing about that. Low inventory stuff.
Right here, this just confirms that there's 2 agents. So 2 people should get paid here. Because this is my MLS, is going to be me. And this is the listing agent. So this just says I represent the tenant. This person represents the landlord. This is pretty self-explanatory. They just fill in their name and email. That's it. That's the contract to lease. And you submit this with a rental application, which they fill out, a copy of their driver's license, proof of income. Proof of income is either their last 4 pay stubs or the last 2 months of bank statements. And if possible, a credit and background check, because they're more often than not going to ask for it anyway. But if you could just show it to them up front, it just makes it easier for them to say yes or no to your client.
Yeah. Like what we were talking about yesterday, like they gotta like really be sure that everything's like nice and make sure everything that doesn't go wrong.
Right. So once you're done with that, you send it to your client to sign. And once they signed it, you email it to the listing agent right here. Here's their email address. So just copy that and paste it in an email. That's how you do a rental. A purchase is a little more intuitive. I think that should probably be a separate class in itself, because once you do a purchase contract, you got a lot of addendums with it.
Addendums. Yeah, I was gonna ask you what I was gonna ask you, like, if you could like summarize what's like an addendum.
Okay, so let's just say the same property, we wanted to buy it. I'd hit the little form simplicity button. It brings me here. I save to a transaction. This transaction already exists. So this is still, let's just say it's still Deborah. Save to existing transaction. And then add blank form. So now I want Florida. I'll just, you know what I'll do? I'll show you the documents we use so you can kind of see everything. And then I'll show you how to fill them in tomorrow. Okay. This is the one we most likely use to purchase a property. The as-is residential contract for sale and purchase. That's it. Because most of these deals, they're as-is, but you get the right to inspect it. It's just the seller is never obligated to fix anything. So this, as you see, it's also fill in the blank, but it's a lot more pages.
Like what, like 20, 30 pages?
I think 16, 12. It's 12, and then when you add your addendums, it just grows more. So the addendums are all here at the bottom. It's like a receipt. So with the contract, it's saying what addenda should be included with this, just so you know if something is checked off here, but you don't have it, something's missing. If the property is in a homeowners association, or if it's a condo building, if it's a homeowners association, I'll click this one. If it's a condo, I'll click this one, right? Another one we'll use a lot is FHA VA financing, because they have a appraisal contingency, a lot of different things that they look for before giving you the loan. So you have to check this one out. The reason for the addenda, they're just different little like trigger points that protects your client. So with the FHA addendum, if the property doesn't appraise for enough, or if the property needs a certain amount of repairs, this addendum will kick in and it can kill the deal so your buyer can get their money back. The condo and homeowners association rider, they just outline this property is in this association. This is the association fee. They have a special assessment of this amount. It just outlines everything the association wants from you financially. And if something happens to where the numbers don't add up to what is on the addendum, like let's just say the addendum says the association fee is $450, but you get to closing and the association's like, our fee is $500. This addendum will kick in, it'll kill the contract, and your client can get out. If your client gets denied by either of these associations, these addendums kicked in, and your client gets their deposit back.
Let's just say your client, that's like a safety net then.
It is, yeah. So let's just say your client's
Okay.
paying cash, but they just want to make sure they're not overpaying. They can activate an appraisal contingency. So that just says we want an appraisal. If we're buying this for 300, we can say, look, this property has to appraise at least 300, otherwise the deal is off. If the appraisal comes in at 299, this addendum kicks in and the deal gets killed and
The
your
deal
client can get
gets.
their money back.
Yeah.
With any of these, if
Oh.
they activate and kill a deal, you can still put it back together. It's just everyone has to go back to the drawing board. You have to it's a new contract that gets drafted.
Okay.
Short sale contingency. This is, you remember what a short sale is? Meaning they're about to go into foreclosure and they're trying to sell it themselves and get out of the loan.
Yeah.
So this just says this sale is contingent on the bank approving this short sale. Even though the seller says yes themselves, if the bank says no, the seller can't obligate my client to pay them for this house. It
Okay,
also
so it all
protects
depends on
you.
the bank.
Exactly. It also protects you because short sales, they take a long time. The longest short sale I've done took a year, an actual whole year to get
Oh my
approved and then
goodness.
closed. So this just says, look, we'll let
Damn.
you negotiate the short sale, but you can put a time frame on it. So if you don't get approval in 90 days, this contract's dead, I get my deposit back. You can even say, look, this is a short sale. I know it's going to take a while to get an approval or not, so I won't give you escrow and I'm not doing inspection or nothing. I'm not doing anything until the bank says yes or no, then I'll start doing stuff.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. What else? Lead-based paint. If it's ever, you see, it's a reminder. If it's ever built before 1978, you need a lead-based paint disclosure. It just allows the buyer the right to do an inspection. And if they find presence of lead-based paint or any signs of lead-based paint, they can kill this deal. This one is really required because if something happens and they didn't get this disclosure, they come after either the seller or the listing agent, whoever did not disclose that it was built in 1978. In most cases, it'll be the realtor because you should know that. It's on all of our systems,
Nah, so you can get in trouble for that then, huh? Like, or like sue you or whatever.
Yeah, so you
my
always just come
goodness.
right here and you see the year built. It's at the top. Year built 1999. So we don't need it. They stopped
Wow.
using lead-based paint in this era. So after 1978, it was outlawed. No one used it anymore. The Housing Older Persons Act. This is that HOPA thing I was showing you.
Right.
So this just says this property. I understand that this property is a 55 and older community. And I understand that there are age restrictions. It's just the reason this one doesn't really have many reasons to kill a contract. It's just more so you can't say I didn't tell you it was a 55 and older community. So if you get denied for not being old enough, you can't come after me.
So basically that just protects you.
Yeah.
Anyway.
So those are the gist. You may use the backup contract clause. I rarely don't. It's one of these built into the short sale addendum, but this just says if the seller agrees to this contract, we'll let them still entertain other buyers and still collect contracts while we're trying to close. And if something happens to us, they'll already have a buyer on standby. It's great because sellers tend to like that extra comfortability and they tend to lean towards offers like this. But the downfall is if you ever need anything from that seller, you're probably going to get a no because they probably still have a line of buyers ready after you. So I don't like to use this unless it's a short sale because short sales take a while and it could be a year later and we walk. So I let them collect offers on a short sale.
How come it takes so long? It's just the bank, just like
they do a lot. So the bank, there's no one representative. They have these asset managers who are in charge of multiple files. And then the title company's in charge of multiple files and they're negotiating with the bank. So they'll do one thing and then they'll move on to the next file, and you'll have to wait for them to come back to your file again. Then they'll send you another email asking for something. And then now, all right, moving on. And in that time, they do 2 appraisals and 1 broker price opinion. It's a BPO. So they'll have a random realtor that has nothing to do with the deal, go look at the property and give their opinion on what it's worth in its current condition. After that, they do 2 appraisals to make sure the contract price is close to fair market value because they won't let you just give it away because they can foreclose on you for more than that.
Right.
So that's what takes the most time, just making sure. Oh, also, they'll make the property owner who's asking for the short sale, they'll make them prove why they're having a hardship and why they can't afford the mortgage.
Mm.
So I've seen them ask a homeowner to write down every single expense they have for the month and how much they make in the month, just so they can see where money's going. So if they look at it like, okay, well, you're spending a ton of money on, I don't know, hookah supplies, you know, they'll be like, we're going to deny this short sale because you spend your money on dumb stuff. This is your fault. If they see, okay, daycare, gas, rent, you know, like all your money is really going out. You really can't afford this. All right, cool. We'll let you out. They'll approve the short sale, but they want to make sure. And just like on the
sure it's worth
contract,
it.
yeah, exactly. And just like on the contract to lease, any other special request or anything crazy your client wants, you put it in here. If your client says, look, I hate that chandelier, I'll buy this house, but I want them to remove that chandelier. Okay. Seller to remove, how do you spell chandelier? Chandelier. We got a lot of
D. I think it's
I'm gonna spell it
DEL.
wrong. Bam. That's what I'll do. I spell it purposely wrong and then let the computer fix it. Seller to remove chandelier prior to closing. That's it. Now it's a thing. Now if the seller, if we get the closing and that chandelier is still up there, we got a problem. We can hold up closing. We can, you know. So anything they want. They may say, we'll buy that house, but we want a mango tree. That's fine. Seller to install mango tree in backyard prior to closing. Anything, literally anything they want. You just put it in there, however you want to write it. The addresses, and again, here are the agents. This is me and my brokerage. This is the listing agent and her brokerage. I personally like to put my commission on here just because the commission is not anywhere on the contract. So there's no way to really lock it in because MLS can say 3%, and then you're getting the closing and the title company is asking, how much is their commission? You say 3%, but the listing agent says, no. It's 2.5 because they went on the listing and changed it real quick. You can't prove that. So I put it here just so it's set in stone. You can't come to me.
Has there ever been like an instant like where the commission rate is a little bit higher, or is it always 3%?
I've personally gotten listings at 7% and sold them. So it's whatever you get the client. If you're the listing agent, whatever you get your seller or landlord to agree to is fine. It's just they usually know most other realtors are charging 6% or 1 month, so they'll go with that. But if you justify it as, look, this is a little harder to sell, if you can show them a bunch of flashiness as to why you're so much better than these other realtors, you can charge whatever you want. It's just you don't want to undercharge because if everything else is on the market is paying 2.5%, 3%, and you got a listing with one, yours is probably going to sit there a little bit.
Yeah.
Because agents aren't going to want to show it. You have the right to show or not show whatever property you want. If you look at the commission and it's not enough for you, you can either put in your offer, look, I'll sell it, but not unless you make it part of the offer. So like right here, let's just say the thing said 2.5%. I just put 3% right there because I want 3. I don't care if you're offering 2%. I could say I'll take 3 and you get 2.5. And if they don't like that, they got to cross it out and fix it. You know? And that's the gist of that. I'll show you exactly how to fill it all in. But as you see, it's the same concept. It's just a matter of knowing what to put where. But this just has, it's mostly words.
Yeah.
There's probably like 3 pages on these 12 that I actually have to do something. So right here, this is the inspection period. I like to give them like a week to inspect the property. In this week or in this inspection period, they can cancel the deal at any time for any reason and get their money back. As long as it's within this time. So that's usually where you want to find out with the association of rules and regulations. You want to check with zoning to make sure they can build whatever they want to build if they're trying to build something. Have an inspection company come out and do a full inspection just so they can see everything going on. Because they can say, you know what? I decided I don't want a white house. I want a blue house. They can cancel for that. Any reason.
And this contract is for the buyers.
Yeah, this is I have a buyer. We want to buy your property.
Okay, and the seller's contract is a different sort. It's a different kind.
It's called the exclusive right to list listing agreement. Yeah.
Okay.
Right here are special assessments. If like the association says we need to replace all the roofs on this condo building. So all owners need to kick in $300 a month for the next 2 years to pay for this new roof. So this is asking, well, who pays for that? So this one right here says the seller will pay for these monthly fees up until closing, and after closing, the buyer, my buyer, will take over these payments for the next 2 years. This one says at closing, you got a big chunk of change coming up. We want you to pay all 2 years, whatever your balance is, up front, so we can move in free and clear. I always check this one. I always say, if there's a special assessment, you pay for it up front in full. I don't want to bother it. I don't want to be dealt with it. A home warranty, I say no. No one's responsible to get a home warranty, because it's just like if the dishwasher breaks, they'll replace it. It's not a necessity.
Yeah.
Right here, I always pick the Miami-Dade Broward regional provision. This is just asking who's picking the title company, so who's paying for the owner's policy. This just says if the seller already has their owner's title policy from the last transaction, which means it's like an insurance policy. So I bought this house. The title company says there's no liens, no violations, free and clear. No one's going to come after me for it. But someone does come after me for it. I activate my owner's title policy, which is an insurance policy, to handle that. So that covers whatever expense I have to go through legally. If there's a fee, they pay for it because they told me this property was free and clear and I don't have to worry about it. If they have to do their research and generate a new one, there's a fee for that. If the seller already has theirs, they can bring it and transfer it because it was just insured. Nothing changed since their ownership, so we know it's still good. So this just says if the seller got one, bring it. If they don't got one, we'll get it, and everyone pays for their own. If the buyer needs a new one, the buyer's going to pay for it.
Everything like on here, like
Totally
there's just some things, there's just some little tweaks here and there, like you gotta
Yeah,
but so
and it's
far
categorized.
Exactly, it's all organized for you, so it won't be that bad.
Nah, right here is just saying if your buyer needs to get a loan. If my buyer has cash, I just check here. There's no finance contingency. So with this, if on closing day my buyer shows up and doesn't have enough money or doesn't have the money, they lose their deposit. This one is a financing contingency. So the second one says this contract is contingent on my buyer getting, let's just say, a FHA loan. You check out what kind of loan. If they can't get this loan within 30 days, this deal's off. We get our money back.
Okay, so the deal's off.
Yeah, but in this is also asking, okay, well, if that's the case, how long do they have to get this approval? How long do they have to make the loan application? So all that kind of comes into effect. So if they don't get approved in time, but they submitted the loan application really late, that's their fault. They can lose their deposit. If they don't get their loan in time, but they applied in time and they did everything they were supposed to do, not their fault. The loan officer could just issue a denial. Usually you'll just keep the extending closing until you get it done.
Yeah.
Assignability is like a wholesaling. So if I get this property on a contract for $250, but I know it's worth $350, I can, if I pick this one, may assign and thereby me released from further liability, I can sell you. I'm under contract for $250. It's worth $350. I can sell this contract to you for $300 because you're still gonna make $50. I just made $50. You still got $50 to make. You show up to closing instead of me, and you buy it. If you don't show up to closing or you flake, it's not on me because I assigned it and I'm released from further liability. If I pick this one, I'm not released from further liability. So if I sell it to you and you don't show up to closing, I'm still on the hook to close from it because I wasn't released. This one says I can't sell this contract to you. If I enter this contract, I'm the one to close. I picked this one because this one freaks sellers out. Because they're like, if I enter this contract with you, I want to close with you. But if you want to wholesale it, you pick it. But if you know you're the one I'm going to close on, it's a good deal. Just don't assign it.
Yeah.
If there's a tenant in the property, you want to check this off just to let everybody know after closing, there's still going to be people living in this property.
Oh, what happens when that, like, what happens when there's still people there like living there?
Well, it's just because the deal is once the deal is closed and funded, the buyer is supposed to take possession of the property. This just says the buyer will own the property, but they can't move in because there's tenants in there.
How to
If
get rid of
let's
the
just say
tenants that you just gotta like.
if you get rid of them and they're not supposed to be there, you actually have to evict them. You got to do a full eviction process.
Oh
Even
wow.
if you have a house that you just bought last week and you show up to the house next weekend and there's people living in there that you have no idea who they are, we have squatter rights. So you actually have to have an eviction done and prove that they're not supposed to be there.
Oh my goodness. So what do you have to do? You have to call like you have to call the cops or like.
They won't help you. The cops won't help you. You got to go straight to an eviction attorney.
Oh wow.
Yeah,
That
it's
is
a thing.
crazy.
I've walked in on squatters four times. Four
Oh
times.
my god.
Because we're showing vacant properties and they're on lockbox. So if an agent doesn't lock the lockbox back, we're talking about these are homeless people. It's storming, it's raining, it's hot. Here's
Yeah.
refuge. What are you gonna do? Most people know about squatter rights, so they know the law. There's professional squatters. There's people that they'll write their own lease and just get away with it because how are you gonna tell
No
me this isn't your
way.
signature? Yeah, it's very intense. Another big real estate fraud is when a property's on a lockbox and the lockbox code gets out to someone in the wrong hands. They'll market the property on like Craigslist or something. An unsuspecting tenant will show up. They'll say, "Come on, I'll show it to you." They know the lockbox code, so they open the door, so they won't ask any questions. They'll say, "Absolutely, I'll move you in. Give me this amount of money, and I'll give you the keys." They pay the money, they get the keys, they move in, and then the owner shows up like, "Who the hell are you? Why are you in my house?" So they have a lease. They paid their money. You understand squatter rights? You gotta evict them out.
Oh my goodness. I
Yeah,
didn't
real
even
estate
know
fraud is
that.
a
That's
big thing.
that's crazy. I did not know that.
Yeah, it's very common.
Oh, it's common. It's really common here
Yeah, yeah.
in Florida.
If you do a lot of showings, you may encounter squatters. Like I've showed a vacant property with no furniture, but one room in the house was locked. I'm like, what the hell is in this room? I need to see it. So there's certain doors you could just pick them open. So I picked it open, and there's a actual couple just sitting on the floor. I'm like, oh shit. So I just locked it back, and I just said, let's go. We just left. I let the listing agent know, like, hey, you got a family living in there, and I just called it a day. I moved on.
Oh man. I mean,
Yeah.
you got to be careful with that too. Like you never
Yeah.
know if they have a
You
weapon. You know.
Yeah, you never know how they're squatters seem to be very calm and pleasant people. So I haven't had any issues with anybody. They're always like, "Hi, I'm sorry." They explain, "Look, I'm just having a little I'm down on my luck." I let them go. I just say, "Oh, no problem." I like to make them think like I'm good. I'm not gonna tell nobody I'm cool. But then when I get in the car, I just report it to the listing agent.
Yeah.
But you don't call the cops or anything. The cops won't do anything. You can try, but they
Mm,
won't do anything.
mm,
So this is the first page. We did it backwards. This is the first page. So same thing, seller and buyer name. Remember the seller's name is right here on IMAP on every listing. The buyer's name, you would know it.
mm-hmm.
Address, zip code, all of this is automatically populated, but still double check it just to make sure because it could be the address from the last deal you did.
Yeah.
This is where you ask for any personal property you want to include. If the house has a 80-inch TV and you want it, you just put living room TV, whatever you want. If you want a dining room table, you put it here.
Mm-hmm.
This is things you do not want under any circumstance. Take it out of here. You could say, I hate that ugly refrigerator. So you just type refrigerator. Take it out. It's excluded from this deal. I don't want it.
Mm.
Or if
So
the
the buyer
seller
has a
says,
lot of
look,
leverage. Seems like the
yeah,
buyer has a lot of leverage.
yeah, you just tailor this offer to however you want. Or let's just say if the seller says, I'll sell it to you at this price, but you got to let me take all my appliances. This is where you put that in.
Mm.
The purchase price. So let's just say we're offering 300,000. It automatically does the little commas and all that good stuff. If it's
Mm-hmm.
listed at 300,000, but you want to offer a little more, just type in what you want to offer. That's fine. Oh, not 3.1. We're not offering 3.1. Okay, bam. You remember the escrow deposit on a rental? This is where you put the escrow deposit on a sale. So not a company's is to be made within 3 days of acceptance. The escrow agent's name, I always give my purchase escrows to the title company doing the closing, just because they're already going to be the one collecting everyone's money to close. So I give it to
Mm-hmm.
them from the start. All right. So you just put your title company name, address, phone number, email. So let's just say I'm doing town and country. It automatically knows who they are because I do this so much. So you see, it's
Yeah, I
all
see.
just,
Oh yeah, it just goes in right away.
it just fills it in. So let's just say 310, we'll do a $10,000 escrow deposit, not 100, 10,000. So this says we'll offer to buy this property for $310,000. If you sign this offer within 3 days, we will give Town and Country Title $10,000 to hold, and you take it off the market in exchange.
Mm.
And you see it automatically does the math. So if they put 10 up, they're purchasing for 310, we owe 300. If we're financing, right here's where you put that. So let's just say we got an FHA loan at 3.5% down. That means we're going to finance the remainder, which is I think 97.5, 7, 8, 9, 10. I think, let me see. So we do 100% minus 3.5. 96.5 is the answer. So with, oh, you gotta put a percentage. So 96.5%. Financing expressed as dollar amount. Yeah. That's still not right. What is this math? Okay, let me think.
Dollar amount or percentage?
Or percentage. It should just do the, let's just make it easy. If it's a conventional loan, they're putting 20% down, meaning they're financing 80%. Yeah. There you go.
Okay.
That still doesn't make sense. I don't know why this math is wrong, but it should calculate it. I wonder if I put 20% down. Yeah, let's try that. Yeah, that's what it is. Okay, so 3.5%. There you go. That's what's happening.
That's their loan amount. That's like the loan that they have left, 289.
Right. But this is, I don't know why it's actually doing this wrong. This is supposed to be the amount that they're financing, not the amount they're putting down. It's just calculating it backwards. I think there may be a glitch, but I guess just for the sake of education, that's what it should look like. You want this number to be the actual total, but this should be the amount they're financing because that's what it's asking. Time for acceptance. We made this offer today, which is the 17th. We want you to accept or deny this offer by Monday. And if you accept it by Monday, we will close, give us a month. We'll close by, I'll put on or before July 21st. Just because if everybody's ready early, if the lender's ready early, if the title company's ready early, we'll close. Yeah. And that's the gist of this. We'll go over this in depth on another time, but just to kind of give you the preview of it.
Right.
All right. Did you have any questions on any of that?
No, not really. No, yeah, I don't really have any questions, no.
Okay, perfect. Awesome. All right, cool.